Rob, welcome to the show, man. Thank you very much for coming on board.
My pleasure, mate. My pleasure.
It's awesome. Obviously, I've known you for a couple of years now, and you were the man that first got me into strongman and kind of showed me my love for this incredible, extreme, ridiculous sport that we've fallen in love with. So it's a real honor to to get to show the world kind of where it all started for me. But I'm interested to talk about you and where you really kind of first discovered your love and passion for strength training, because you are a foundational pillar, I think, in the British strength scene, and I'm really excited to kind of get into what got you hooked.
Oh, wow. Probably, child, watching World's Strongest Man, Britain's Strongest Man, back when I was about 8 years old. It was only on at Christmas, so at Britain's Strongest Man, and that was normally filmed BBC One, and then you had World's Strongest Man, which came on later. So, yeah, only back then, I'm saying back then, but it sounds terrible, but yeah, back in the day, it was just three channels, and Britain's Strongest Man was on BBC One around Christmas time, and it just it captivated me. I loved it. I don't know, like a bit of a drug in a way, because I've seen all these lumps and athletes, and they're just picking stuff up, doing stuff that I've never really seen before. It was a bit of a bit of a freakish sort of thing, because you only ever see, the Olympic Games and Commonwealth Games, and shot put, discus and stuff, which I love and I still love now. And then you see a little bit of Olympic lifting now and again, a little bit of powerlifting, but to actually see these Litharians like doing the stones and all the other bits and pieces they first did, and Jeff Capes was the first guy I actually saw on the television. Jeff and Big Kaz and John Paul Sigmarsson. These three were like, wow. They just amazed me. But unfortunately, you could only see it once a year, and it was that was the worst bit. So I emulated them. 8 years old, I grew up on like an equestrian farm. So I was loading bales of hay and water water buckets in and out of the horses. We had like 20 horses, so I was doing that from probably a little bit earlier than eight, I'd say. I was starting getting horses and collecting horses from the fields at around about 6, maybe 7 years old.
So you
in at the deep
created
end,
that
really. It was good.
foundation
I
like
loved
without
it.
even realizing it, like just doing all of that laboring stuff. You created probably one of the greatest foundations you can for that kind of that thing that you need in strongman, because it's so multifaceted, and you were doing that every day.
Yeah, yeah. It's the odd carries. From the buckets of water to baling hay to having my granddad in the garden doing like rockeries and collecting wood and logs for the fire, and all odd carries, very uneven, uncentered, having to use your literally brute strength. There's no real technique in it, and that sort of became to perfection in strongman. Because as there is huge amounts of technique in strongman, but the fundamentals are just core strength, just having that strength and also the passion to push your body, just crazy push your body.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing that kind of it speaks so true with yourself, kind of pushing yourself kind of above and beyond what you think you can. And I think you're a massive proprietor of that. Just saying, your body is capable of so much more than you think it is. Just keep on fucking pushing, and you'll be amazed at what you can do. So I'm interested to hop off on that. Were there any times where you really feel like you outdid and surprised yourself on the strongman field? Like any of those times where you really had to dig so disgustingly deep within yourself to pull out kind of that max attempt, get that one extra point on the board to clinch the first place. What was that like for you?
There's been a few. I think when I was first starting was thinking of numbers and in the gym for a while, and then trying to hit those numbers. So um, for me, coming into strongman was very having to correct my sets and my rep, lowering my positions, upping my intensity with my sets, and then governing myself to these certain bits. So I hit probably my first goals were around about the 100 mark. So I hit 100 kilo bench when I was hold on now. So I used to train my older brother. We had a setup in the garage at home when so Richard was about 13, and I was benching. By the time I was 12, I was benching about 100 kilos. So that was like so I was already benching the same as my brother, maybe a bit more, and then and then
Jesus.
we got on to squatting. So I was squatting 200 kilos by sort of 16. Deadlifts, we didn't have much. We had a kind of a weird setup for deadlift, but I was still moving weight. And I remember a winter years ago, I was in second year junior. So how old was that? Like 9?
Yeah, something like
And I was the big guy in class, so I had to go out of class to help change my wheel because I was the only one big enough and strong enough to undo the nuts on the wheel, and I was maybe 9. So it was it's just one of them things you get called upon to do some weird things.
that.
But
Yeah.
yeah, for training was it's just odd because it carries over not just in the gym but outside as well. The crazy.
Yeah, I love that.
From
So
picking up the logs that we when we go.
yeah, like having your brother there training with you, like just being that little bit older, like I'm sure that also really kind of pushed you to be like, oh, like I know he's a few years older, but I'm not gonna let him fucking beat me. Like I want to make sure that I'm pushing the same numbers as him. I want to be up his ass the whole time.
Every session, every session. My cousin used to come. We used to live next door to our cousin. So he, Nick, he was a big lad. He was a bricklayer. He was about 6'5", and he was getting on for about 19 stone. He was strong to pull. So he was like my next target. So I was already in and around my brother. So I had to move on to try and beat Nick. But he was a strong. But I did in the end. I got him.
Yeah, that's just that competitive nature of yours just coming through. So true.
I can't help it. I can't. It's win or nothing. I just can't because it's like it's like in life. You put everything. Life is all about it's a journey, and it's not really about the end result. It's a journey. So you gotta put in what you give out, and that's life in general. Put in 100%. Therefore, you get 100% out in life. So for me, going through my life with that, I just put it into my training ethic and also my competition ethic. You go into a competition, and no matter who's there, obviously with the 14 years, 15 years of me competing, I've been up against the elite. Eddie and Z and Thor and you name it, they've been in with me. So you just got to go for it. My first year of World's Strongest Man, I got a phone call from Colin, and he said, "Oh, who do you want to be put in with?" And I instantly said, "Like Zajunas, because if you're in with the best, then you can only be the best, can't you?"
Yeah, 100%. Having a pillar stone like Big Z, I mean, you literally don't get better than that. I mean, if you can even stand around with Big Z, I think that really cements kind of your title in the strongman world, because he is, especially back then, he was unbeatable. He was a freak.
Mate, I just unbelievable. Just his whole mindset, not just at competition, but at the hotel and around. I think I've said in a couple of other interviews, there was no rush for Sojourners. He would walk his own way, nice and slow. He wouldn't waste any energy. So he would eat, and he could eat quite a lot. A lot of strong men like yourself, we can eat like horses. So he would make sure that he got calories in, and he would just bimble. He'd be like just like an old barge, just like floating down a canal, and he had no, just didn't care if he knew full well the coach was going to wait for him. No one's not going to leave at the hotel, and then the run up the competition, and then get to the competition. He would just sit and he would just do his own, put his heat cream on, do his stretches, put his neoprenes on, and in his own nice, steady, beautiful clockwork way. Just so hadn't probably gotten over sort of 65 beats a minute by now. Just chilled out, just wouldn't even know he was there really. Loads of fluids, loads of warm ups, and then we'd have obviously pick our numbers for who was going out first. And then that was all good. And then he'd Then he would just start to click up to semi-serious. And if we had like log to start, he'd start to warm up. And he'd warm up with he'd warm up with weights that the other guys couldn't even rep. I remember doing one of the first world's strongest log competitions over in Lithuania. He warmed up to 190 kilos. And there's guys there that could barely. They were there, but they were there for the following day. So we did. So when Sushi did the world log record over in Lithuania, Vilnius is where he comes from. Is his town. He had. You've seen the big aluminium log, the old IFSA log. It's stainless steel. So as an empty log, is 130 kilos empty.
Jesus Christ!
And it is enormous. It's got the massive thick handles which are knurled, really sharp knurling, and it picks up really, really heavy. But once you get it to your chest, it really is one of the best logs I've used. But imagine that, an empty log. Normally, empty logs are 70 kilos, 60 kilos. This thing was 130 kilos empty. It was made probably 8mm, 9mm stainless steel. It was phenomenal. And he picked it up like it was a banana out of his lunchbox. It was phenomenal.
And how, like, going into it, obviously, like, if you going up to that level and taking that step up, especially in that time, I'm sure it's very, very overwhelming, especially for a young strongman, being around all of these complete freaks. So did you find, like, going into it, you were very much kind of looking at everyone, trying to take on board kind of tips like not rushing too much from Z, picking up these things from other people just like a sponge? Or were you so focused on what you were trying to do that it didn't actually fucking matter what anyone else was doing? Like, you were there to do your thing and your thing alone?
I think in the first couple of years, I was kind of focused on what I was doing, because back when I first started, we had to make our own kit. So I had to salvage and make my own pair of farmers.
That in and of itself is just fucking absurd.
Yeah. So my first two pairs of farmers I had to make with a friend. We made them out of like cylinders, and we had to fill them up with concrete because they weren't heavy enough. Then we got some gas cylinders, and we then filled them up with a load of old scrap. Then my first log was a handmade railway sleeper, so it actually wasn't even a log. We just cut handles in it to kind of get the technique of a log. So I'm going back to 2002, 2003, when we didn't have these Rebel Strength, Andy's Rebel Strength. You can pretty much order stuff now, and you'd have a brand new log on your doorstep on Friday, sort of thing. Strength Shop and all these other companies now that literally you can go onto your Amazon or another account, bang, 2 days later you've got all this kit. I mean, it's amazing. That's what's brought strongmen on so well, is the abundance of really, really, really good kit. But back when I started, logs, Pullums used to make a log, and it was quite a small, it wasn't IFSA spec, which is about 13, 12 inches. Pullums did like a 9-inch log. You had the ends, but you had to nominate what you wanted. So I think we bought like a 70 or 80 log, very small, had these very thin handles just welded into the inserts, and you could only put like the inch plate on the ends.
Oh,
but
Jesus.
It rolled horribly because it was a really crappy log, but it's 300 quid.
Oh my God! What?
Yeah, so luckily we had a club called the Portia Strongman Association, and we all chipped in to buy this log, and then we eventually chipped in to buy some farmers walks. And when we put on the first Portia Strongest Man back in 2004, 2005, we got a building sponsor that gave us a couple of quid so we could actually get a pair of farmers, and then we bought another log, and then we had some other bits that we fabricated our own and got other friends to fabricate. So yeah, and the first tyre we bought, well, we got it given because my friend knew a tyre place up in Heathrow. It spent 6 months out in his driveway because neither of me or Colin could pick it up because it was too heavy. So all learning curves. We had a load of stones. We made a load of stones. We made some molds. So we knocked out a load of these stones that we guessed, And I think the lightest one back then we made was 120 kilos. We're trying, and we can try and we lapped it a couple of times with just chalk. Then he ordered some tacky, some Dave Austin tacky from the States. I don't know, about a week to get here, 2 weeks to get here. We then were like the Saturday we went to train. Colin's like, yes, we've got the tacky, we can do the stone. We were like, brilliant. So we've literally marinated ourselves in tacky because we don't know. Like we've only seen a few competitions. We've seen, now the internet's getting a little bit more live, so we've seen a few people, with tacky on at Worlds and a few other places. So we're lifting stones, and stones are going great, and then that's brilliant. But then because you don't know how on earth do you get tacky off? So we're in his house scrubbing for maybe an hour and a half, trying to take all this tacky off. We don't know how to take it off.
Oh shit! And if anyone has ever experienced tacky, it is impossible to get off of anything.
It's like the world's worst stuff to get off your hands, or basically anything. I mean, we've now got Cerberus and a few companies have got the spray now, which is the tacky remover, which is brilliant. It's like a just breaks down the tacky, and it's worth its weight in gold. But back then we had to use like petrol or diesel, paraffin, all these horrible which completely ruin your skin anyway. And then if you had a cut from a stone, you had like a serious infection on your arm because you obviously cut yourself with a stone, but you're now got like a nice juicy bit of paraffin in your skin. So yeah, so you live and learn. You learn by your mistakes, as they say. So we did plenty of that.
And I think it's testament though, isn't it? Like, and I think that's the difference, because anyone that knows people that have been in, especially the strongman game for as long as you have, it's like it's a different breed of people, because I think you had to go through that. Like, you couldn't just hop online and buy stuff. Like, you had to spend time in trying to find ways to make this mold for the stone, and what do we need to use for that. And I think that kind of it just reaffirms that passion that, like, you went against everything, you went against all of those norms because you were just so obsessed with this random fucking sport, which was on TV but once a year.
Yeah, it was, I don't know. Looking back, I know how stupid I was, but there was nothing stopping me. I had to do it. It just, I see a log, I thought, right, we can replicate that. And then obviously you see a few of the competitions when a few of the European Cup games started coming on to show, what they were doing. And you had some other guys coming through the system. And then you had Pure Strength, which came on in the 80s, which brought in teams and stuff from America and Finland and Iceland. So you could see what they were doing. And we were like, replicating what they were doing as well. It was crazy stuff. We were going to like scrapyards and finding bits and pieces so we could use for medleys. And we loaded up some, went to a local pub and got some of their barrels and loaded them up with concrete. They're like 120 kilo barrels. We used to put a load of like old scrap in them as well. And I bought a piece of chain off of it was a scrappy down in Plymouth, and it was I think you've seen it out the back. It's a big piece of chain, 2 kilos. It was off the anchor of a cross-channel ferry.
Just absurd.
Just random.
Yeah. To be fair, like the gym is like it's beautiful. They've just got so many random relics that I feel like they each have their own story as well. When you have to go through that, and you have to go through those tribulations of like trying to source them and find them, and like, how the fuck do we then get them to the gym? How do we load them? It's every single one has like their own personality, don't they?
Yeah, I've got a lot of old stuff, older strongmen that are retired now. So my Viking press and my special yellow log was Ollie Thompson's, who he did Worlds and was Britain's strongest man back in when did Ollie win it? 2007, 2006. Ollie Thompson, he now does MMA. I bought a lot of stuff of him, a lot of plate and stuff. I used to go and train with him as well, so I've got a lot of bits from him, and just other boys that I've had come in. They've not retired, but they've sold their stuff on, and that's why the gym is just littered with so many bits and pieces. And now I've got that bit extra, I can then help others. So a couple of months ago, Adam Bishop was training for Britons and stuff, and needed, because he's got his own little place now, so he's got one of my logs to train with now, metal log. Got a couple of sets of farmers and bits and pieces. So he got lots of other bits, but he just wanted some proper stuff to to train with. So he's borrowed a few more bits of mine, but you wouldn't know because I've still got 4 logs at the gym, and I've still got about 4 pairs of farms still. So I just collect rubbish really. It's crap. It's like a massive strongman salvage yard, but I can't get rid of nothing. I don't mind lending, but I can't sell.
No, it's a part of your heart, isn't it? So I'm interested to kind of hop off there because you talk about, and we know for a fact that strongman has a very high turnover of athletes, even at the pro level. It's such a grueling sport. It's so unforgiving. So what do you think has kind of kept you in the game for as long as you have been? There's so many of these guys that were at the same level as you that they've packed it in and really just kind of disappeared off the face of the earth. So what do you think has kind of kept you on board for so long?
Passion. A little bit of stupidity, maybe, and it's a thrill. Being like if you're an athlete and you're a sprinter, to be the fastest is awesome, isn't it? And no matter what you do, you still want to run that race. You still want to be the fastest guy. And me, I always want to be the strongest. So I just kept pushing, and I kept getting that little bit better. So I get invited to better, bigger competitions. So you have to improve. You have to keep rolling with it and keep going. And the injuries are unfortunately, that is just the backbone, so to speak, as corny as it sounds. But that's the only guaranteed thing in strongman is injury.
Yeah, and I think, you're probably someone to kind of talk about the kind of injury and what have you, because I know you've had your fair share, but I think it's kind of part of the learning process as well, and I'm sure you could probably agree with it that every injury that you had, as much as it was a setback, it probably taught you to like maybe train in a different way, or like, okay, I can't pull from the floor for this amount of time, so I've really got to work off of these block pulls and these different variations, which then I'm sure probably built you up in a different way, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's certainly taught me that now the best thing is prehab rather than rehab.
Yeah, get everything in the front end, make sure that your body's working good before you get involved.
Yeah, and that's key for everything. And moving forward with all my coaching and all the other guys, they warm up so well. Their prehab is so good that they very rarely do injure themselves too badly to then use the rehab. But a lot of people have done, and then they've got themselves a couple of months down the road. But luckily, the technology is now with rehab, and a lot of the guys with the therapists, they're using more technology to fix it a lot quicker. These guys that are taking, I know 3 athletes that tore their body, and they were back training within about 16 weeks. And beforehand, it was like a 6-month like set off, wasn't it? So, amazing sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Durability of the body and the system, and the passion of the sport. They don't want to be out for long. They want to be at World's Strongest Man. They want to be, going to Europe. They want to be pulling a fantastically big deadlift at the next show, because they're just as passionate and stupid as myself and the other guys they're competing with. You've got, as you've got to have a little bit of a screw loose to keep going and keep pushing and keep going with strongman, because you're on a knife edge between being unbelievably strong and also on the other side of the knife being completely injured and rupturing and really doing yourself badly.
Yeah, I think that's also kind of, it's a little bit of the sex appeal with it as well. Like, it's that whole kind of like living life on the edge here. But I think it brings the best out, and I think especially when you're in that competitive environment with all of those people, I think it's just a recipe for some incredible freak feats of strength, which is what is what we're all there for at the end of the day, isn't it? Like, that's what we're there to do.
Yeah, it's what it's all about. Going to comps and having these guys around you, and watching Zadrunas do a world record log, and watching how he warms up and how he does things, how he sets himself, and then watching him put 226 to 212 kilos over his head, just phenomenal. And then with Eddie, when I used to be with prep Eddie for his world deadlift attempts in this country and also in Australia and stuff. But his mindset is probably the best I've ever him and Zadrunas, I strongly believe and still believe to this day that Zadrunas is probably the strongest strongman ever. Like, as a strongman goes, he has no weakness. He kicked everyone's ass. And I know there's this whole thing about, yeah, but Marius won it 5. Yeah, Marius won it 5 times. He did. I can't take nothing away from him. But Zadrunas wasn't there all the 5, was he?
So we'll never know.
And the weights were lighter, and everything was more, it was a little bit more, a bit lighter, a little bit. So, whereas you got like Zadrunas won it all with everyone there. No matter who you were, Zadrunas beat you, and he was the best. But I think the strongest man alive ever is Eddie. Just an absolute cyborg. I've never known someone that strong, just phenomenal, and so fit as well. Just unbelievable. But both their mindset are very, very similar because they are the most channeled, most focused, most, I don't know, crazy, mentally strong people I've ever known.
And I think that carries across into strongman, doesn't it? Like, strongman, I think, it's not just a test of body. I think more times than not, it's a test of mind than it is test of body. Kind of going back to that whole thing that we're saying, that like, if you can override this, it's actually kind of freaky what you can do with your body. So I think for them, and you can see it, like, you can see it in Eddie's eyes when he goes for those world record attempts. Like, you can just see it. It's like a burning passion in his soul. And again, it's unlike anything else that you ever see. He's so, it's not even 100%. It's not even 150%. It's like he's 1,000% committed to whatever that given thing is, and he will do it whether it kills him or not.
If that 500 had killed him, so be it. He wouldn't have bothered. He wouldn't care. He got that far. Watching him do that 500, getting set and ready for that 500, was probably the best thing of my career, even though it wasn't me. But the biggest thing I've ever seen, witnessed physically and mentally with one person, just unbelievable. It was just mind blowing.
And how does it compare? Obviously, like, but by that point, you had competed on that world stage in front of thousands of people. You knew what it was like. But then going from, I think, being the athlete to kind of being that coach, support staff role of someone else, it changes it. So I'm interested. Were you kind of more nervous and scared being kind of like there for Eddie with his attempts, or as an athlete yourself competing on those world stages?
I think it's a different type of fear. I think it's a different type of adrenaline rush. It's still similar, but when I used to compete, I used to get quite bad nerves in the morning and then on the first event. So the first event for me, really nerve-wracking. No matter what it was a good or a bad one for me, I get really nervy. The minute the first one's over, I'm fine. All good, and no matter how the competition plays out, we're fine. When I was helping Eddie with the deadlifts, I had to think not just for me. It wasn't just me doing I had to think for him as well. So I had to make sure everything was perfectly right for him, and it was down to me. It was my job. He had asked me to do almost the prepping and the mentoring for him, so then he didn't have to think about it.
Yeah.
So from the things as like making sure his towel was exactly right under his arms because everything rubs, making sure his belts were correct and in the right place where he needed to be. Foods were the same. Food was exactly the same. Making sure that the platform that he lifted off of was completely square and symmetrical. Making sure the tape was exact. Making sure the tape on the bar was completely over the tape on the lift platform. Making sure all the plates were exactly the same, exactly plated, exactly where he needed to. There was nothing in his line of sight other than the referee. Just everything had to be perfect because I'd hate to think that he left something out, something as minute as it not being where he wanted it to be, for him to not have done it. But I knew the year before he told me, I knew he'd do it. I knew it. And it's only probably me and maybe one other that knew he'd do it anyway. But that was even more of a thrill to have those 12,000 people, like, they want to see it, they didn't see it, or they're not too sure if he's going to do it, but they want to come and watch. Because everyone wants to see, obviously, a win. Then they want to see, like, ridicule. It was like ridicule was like, you didn't do it. I knew he'd do it. from that morning I saw him, he was an animal.
Yeah,
it's unbelievable.
just 100% committed, and I think, you know, it's just testament to his career and everything that he's done past it as well. You know, it just goes to show that I think it carries massively outside of the gym, that if you have that focus, if you have that passion and you have that drive, you're pretty much going to achieve anything that you want to, and you're going to be successful in anything that you want to do. But before we get into that, I want to hop back, because of course we have obviously Halfdor Bjornsson's going for the 501. It's a hot debate topic at the moment. Where do you kind of stand with it? Obviously, there are people that are wanting to kind of disregard it. It's not in the same environment. It's not on the same bar. There are people arguing, you know, Eddie's bar was on a slightly different bar to the original record that was set. Where do you stand with all of this? Is it a record? Isn't it a record?
Firstly, a record, a world record attempt should be done at a stadium, at a governed competition, where there are the correct people there that can verify all the weights, all the measures, and be done under a competition standard. A gym record is a gym record in my eyes. If you do it at whatever gym, because you haven't got the, you know, if you know you've got to be at an auditorium or say at the Leeds stand or the Albert Hall at 10 o'clock that morning, you're already setting the nerves in. If you're going to go pop down your gym, it's a different mindset, isn't it? You still got the end result. So the mindset's different. You're pulling off your own gear. You're pulling off your own bar that you know. You're pulling off your own place that you kind of know that have a feel now. That your spotters and your setters, they know how you want your bar. They know how this. They know how that. So that's a lot easier. When you're up against that, that's just your standard. It was an Oki bar, standard Oki bar with Alico plates. Because Alico are the only ones that are calibrated, measured, and set. There's nothing. There was nothing. There was no smoke and mirrors with anything that Eddie pulled. It was on a plywood base, double plywood with rubber matting, normal constructed mat. Eddie record lifts in the stadium it was just your normal powerlift, an Oki power bar, calibrated Alico plates, because you know weights on there. You know, a 50 kilo Alico is a 50 kilo Alico. You know, they're weighed and measured. They know, you know, it's not like any of these other cast plates, because I've got cast plates at my gym that some of them are nearly 0.8 of a kilo out. You get that over a few. That's quite a few weight out. And at your gym, you can relax, kick back. You can have a little bit of a sit, pull your warm up, and then have 10, 15 minutes, whatever you do, and then pull it again and see how you feel. And then you can go, I won't go for that. I'll go for this, see how that feels. You can't do that at a stadium. You can't do that at a world level comp. You've got 10 minutes in between your lift. And more importantly, who remembers the second person to walk on the moon? Do you know?
Yeah, very true.
There's only one. Only one. Ed was the first and the only guy to ever pull 500, and they've always been known as the only and first person to pull 500, and that's that.
Yeah.
After I take my hat off to you, but you'll always be second, third, fourth, and so on and so on. So even if you pull 520, Eddie was still the first.
Yeah, the original
premiere, the fucking Oscar of deadlifts.
Yeah, and it was beautiful as well. You know, it's still to this day, I think you can kind of challenge anyone to look at that video and go, do you really think that was his max? Because I fucking don't. You look at the speed that came off of the floor, man. Like there was some serious kilos that was still left in there. So I think it's even if someone pulls 501, you kind of go, yeah, man. But the speed that 500 came off the floor, you really don't think he's going to pull 5025. Yeah, there was probably at least another 15, 20 kilos in there. Let's be honest.
The mentality of the fella, he went out and pulled the world record 465. Like it was 200 kilos.
It was insane. I've never seen anything move so fast.
Yeah, that's the mindset of the bloke on that day. Eddie's mind, all he wanted to do was lift 500 kilos a day. It was the staggered lifts that we had to get him ready for each lift. We nominated three lifts on the day, including his warm-ups at the back. And we had a whiteboard, and every lift he did, we crossed off. We didn't put a number on it. We just did it as a lift, like you would a working set. So the 3 lifts that we went out to do, which was about 420, world record, 500, we clicked them off as if you would at home or in the gym doing your last heavy working set. That's it, because that's all you have to think about. You have to think about numbers, you have to think about percentages, whatever all the other bits and pieces you have to think about when you're doing a heavy set or you're doing a 1 rep max or something, and nothing to think about other than crossing one off and doing the next one. That's it. Keeping things simple. It's the only way. It's key.
Yeah, and I think kind of going back with the parallels between Thor and Eddie, I think, you know, when you're in an enclosed space, and, you know, famously we know that Thor has a lot of yes men, having, you know, tons and tons of people around you screaming and shouting in a closed off space is obviously a completely different environment to being in the middle of the Leeds arena in complete silence, watching, you know, having hundreds of thousands of people watch you. It's a completely different game. So I think, you know, as much as if he does it, it will be a record, like you said. It's one of those ones where I just wish that there wasn't that contention, and it's like, if you've got it, just save it, do it in a stadium.
Exactly.
What's the rush? Do you know what I mean? So I think it's a little bit funny.
Thor's being a bit childish at the moment. He's not. He's quite embarrassing that his mentality now. He's acting online, because that's not professional. He's putting himself in a bit of a silly light, like, you know, a bit of an arrogant pig in a way. And, you know, importantly, the average Joe that buys tickets to the Giants Live stuff, they don't see the mind games and the shit and hassles the other athletes, including Eddie, had to put up with all of Thor's yes men with all their blue shirts on that are all around him, and they all make sure that they get in the way of everyone else off. No one sees that behind the stage. They did it at Europe. They've done it at all the Europe stuff. They've done it all the other bits and pieces. They've done it at Worlds as well, and they've been told about it. But because Thor's Thor and he has to have these people with him, they got him around like a troop of like really annoying like fucking termites that get in your way, and it can put people off. And luckily, thankfully, Eddie was miles away, and his mindset was on the game anyway. But it could affect someone that was not as mind strong as it did. Still annoy him because they do get in the way, and they get in the way of all sorts of bits and pieces. But then when the decision doesn't go his way, obviously Thor kicks up, that's fine. And an athlete, if you're in contention of something, you go beat the referee. But you don't need 10 other people telling everyone else what's going on, do you? That's not professional. And what he's doing at the moment online is very unprofessional. I think it's a shame for Thor, because Thor's a good guy, and I like him, and I've got a lot of time for him, but I'm losing a little bit of respect for him, the way his mannerisms and the way he's projecting himself online at the moment, because he's building quite negative hype towards Eddie, when Eddie hasn't done nothing other than pull 500, and as Ed does always, pulling people's legs. He's a joker, a piss taker, and he loves to crack. That's all he's done. There's nothing else. I think Thor is now doing it a little bit over the top now, and I don't think that's professional on his behalf, on anyone's behalf, and also for strongman. I don't think that's right. And I think he should wait. Or if he pulls the 501, brilliant, that's good. But it is a gym record. It's not a world record. It's an unofficial world gym record. It's bullshit. It's smoke and mirrors. It's crap. Let's do it out in front of 12. If you think it's strong, why not wait and get a big auditorium full of guys that are willing to pay, like they did Eddie, and let him pull 510. Brilliant. And I'm sure Ed would be the first person to go over there and shake his hand. I'm sure. But for now, please, Thor, just wind it in. Don't be a dick. Normal. Be Thor. Be the old Thor that I knew. All those, because I was at his first World's Strongest Man in 2011. He was 205 kilos. What was he? 6'9" and 22 years old. Just a young guy and just completely green. But we looked after him. He's a good boy. Now, he's strong. I can't get nothing away from him. He's a strong lad. But he's acting like a bit of a dick. So.
Yeah, I think it's that humility with it as well, and I think especially in a world of strongman where the general consensus is, I mean, you look across at anyone at the top strongman level, they're all incredibly humble guys. Like they don't have that arrogance, they don't need it because they're the strongest people on the face of the earth. And I think when this kind of thing happens, it kind of leaves a sour taste in your mouth because you're like, okay, I know how humble the strongman scene is. why are we doing this? Why are we doing it publicly so the rest of the world can see it and taint the strongman sport? Like, we don't need that kind of football prima donna bitching. Like, we're all happy to just kind of get it out there, get it sorted, let's crack on.
You've never seen Zadrunas do it, have you?
Never.
Underwhelming guy. He's done, what's he done? 4 worlds, 8 Arnolds. He has countless, maybe over, what's he up to now? Maybe 300 plus competitions. I think the guy's got 2 rooms for his trophies at home. The guy's been there, done it. He's done everything. Would he ever come out arrogant or sort of demeaning to another athlete? No. It's just not. It's not his style anyway. But he wouldn't do it because he's always let the competition and himself do the talking. If someone said to him, "Can you do this?" He's gone and done it. He said, "Yeah, there you go. That's a 220 log for you. What about a 500 joke? Well, there's a 500 joke for you. 240 stone. There's a 240 stone for you." He's done it. He hasn't got to, piss in his pocket to let him do something. He just does it. And so have Eddie. Eddie's done it. He's proved he's been there, done it. He ain't got to worry about no one else because he's number one. He's the deadlift holder, 500 kilos, first person ever to do it. Enough said.
Yeah, 100%. And I think it's interesting because obviously when you've been in the game for as long as you have, you've seen so many personalities, you've seen so many people come and go throughout this sport. You kind of you get a pretty good gist of kind of the good guys in the scene and the guys that are here to put in the work and do what they need to do to go out and achieve what they say they're going to do. And they're also those guys that are going to talk and talk and talk and talk and talk, and then 2 weeks before the competition they're pulling out because they've got a hamstring injury or something. There's always these people.
It's just annoying. But like my old man said, you can't have an argument with an idiot. So these people are just going to keep going on because you've got all the Thor fans having a go at the Eddie fans. It's just, I'll just keep out of it. I can't be bothered. It's because there's so much else going on, and we've seemed to have hit a beautiful scene of yet again more quality British athletes. Obviously I'm going to up him as much as I do my other mates, but Adam Bishop coming from, he was a bit of a real skinny 105, now Britain's strongest man, and the time lapse he's done it in is phenomenal. And now he went from about 100 kilos wet when I first met him in 2009, maybe. The guy's now 148 kilos of muscle. He's probably the hardest working athlete, strongman I know. That boy, only when he's at work does he rest. He rests, but he rests properly. And he trains properly, and he's like he's super clever. And this is the change of when I first started. We were strong, and we focused on the lifts, we focused on the competitions. Bish, he's super clever, he's savvy, he listens to his body, he knows when to train, the percentages to train, how long to train, when to rest, what proper things to eat, what's other stuff to pre-ab. He does all the cryogenic stuff. He gets a sports massage every week. He fully MOTs himself. He's like, he's a Formula One car, and he's got all these people around him that are looking after that Formula One car because it needs to work absolutely efficiently for every single race, wherever you go on the planet. And that's what Bish is. He's like I've said it before. He's like a Swiss Army knife for strongman. Man, he has no weakness now. He's like a Formula One car. He's just absolutely pepped for everything. He's fit. He's fast. His overhead's good. His deadlift's superior. He can squat. And he's functional. He can do everything. There's nothing that boy can't do.
But it's really interesting because I love the way that you said that he doesn't have a weak point now, and the now part is the part I really want to focus on because I feel like Bish is. I'm not trying to blow smoke up his arse here, but I feel like Bish is one of the rare strongmen where he will look at all of his events. He will break down where he needs to do work, and then you can see it on his social. that guy will literally tear down that event and he will hammer the shit out of it until it is literally like second nature. It's like putting on his socks in the morning. And that's one thing that I absolutely love about him, is that he just seems to be really proactive about what he needs to do to get to that next level. And I think we've seen he's gone away and done all that building. I mean, he's the strongest man in Britain, for fuck's sake. Like, what more proof do you get than that?
And let's face it, that the lineup he beat was unbelievable.
Look at the
Stoltmans, Luke, they're robots, and you've got all those others: Terry, Aaron, Ryan, Mark. They were all so good, all so strong. But the thing is, he just did exactly what we went through a game plan like we normally do on comp day, and did exactly to the minutest thing for every event, and that's what got him it. And it's credit to him. His overhead pressing now, he's up to 190 now, but he had trouble when I first saw him. He had trouble with like 100 kilo log, because like you say, he's worked down, he's broke it all down. We've been working quite well together over the last sort of 18 months, 2 years, getting his overhead press. He's so explosive and so dynamic, but he's having to use a lot more of what I do, strict sort of what we call Mong lifting, like that, like just pure body strength, Yeah. And on the latter, he showed me explosive lifts, technical, like pre-Abbey bits I didn't really understand or didn't know. Explosive pushing off of with bands and how to get the Viking actually well timed, and he's we've mirrored our training. So I've shown a lot of brute strength, old school stuff. He showed me some new age stuff, and it's mind blowing, mate. And if I had hair, it would fucking knock it back. You know what I mean? It's a phenomenal athlete.
Yeah, he's wicked, and I think that's really interesting that that there's this mix and combination of the new school and the old school, and I think it does come across, because you can kind of see it now, especially like just with like his static pressing and stuff. It's just got so strong, and you can really see that obviously with the foundation that you kind of set there with him, that's where it's come from, because you're a strict pressing fiend. So I think it's brilliant that he's picked that up, and like you're saying, the fact that he was able to do that in a competition where I think I spoke to probably 4 or 5 people, and people can go back to previous podcasts and listen to it, and we kind of spoke Loz making predictions and kind of saying that this was actually probably the closest Britons that we've ever seen in terms of who could actually clinch any of the top 3 spots. It was so tight. So the fact that he's been so consistent with getting either on the podium or as close to that podium as he can across the last few years, that it's just kind of that every year just a little bit level up, and now he's at that point where he just needs to just keep on going with whatever he's doing, because I think now if he can take that across and put it into kind of Worlds, I think you'll be able to talk about this, that if Worlds kind of you have the right events in the right pool for the right athlete, anyone can come out on top.
Yeah. I don't see any reason why in the next 2 years Bish can't podium at Worlds. Quite happily. He'll be very close this year. I know, obviously, with the COVID, what's going on with this virus thing and us being quarantined, he's training and the competition stuff a lot harder than what it is. Bish is still at home training because he's got a lovely facility in his garden, but it's actually the competitions that are being messed up, the dates and stuff, so you can't quite peak for the competition. I think that'd be the only reason why he wouldn't podium this year, but I guarantee if everything's all honky-dory for 2021, that boy's on the podium.
Yeah, 100%. So I'm also interested to speak to you about kind of the various different competitions, because obviously, we've got the record coming up with World Ultimate Strongman with the guys out in Dubai who are obviously, funneling a crap ton of money into the sport. We've got the arena tours that are going to be coming to the US now, which is obviously a huge thing. And I'm interested to talk about this because there are so many varying, they're not governing bodies, but event organisations within the strongman world. it's a bit fucking higgledy-piggledy. It's a bit all over the spot. Comps are kind of not particularly always in the best order, and organisers don't really seem to take into consideration when anyone else's competition is on. They're just going to put it on. So I'm interested to get your opinion. Moving forward in the strongman scene, do you think we need to see kind of more structure throughout the year for these elite athletes so they can kind of peak easier and pick and choose their comps better? Do you think that we need to have more of kind of like a general governing body or like seeding system across all of these various different competitions? What do you think we need to see more of?
I think across the board there needs to be a bit more respect between each governing body, each association. You know, Giants Live are probably the biggest and the oldest company. They've been around since, you know, the 80s, so to speak, with Darren and Colin in and around the mix of Britain's and World's Strongest Man. They're now, you know, Giants Live and part of a huge, big, strong corporate. These are the guys that, you know, all the Giants Live tours, Britain's Strongest Man, you know, Europe's, and of course they're in massive hoops with World's Strongest Man. They run World's Strongest Man. You got all, you know, the corporation in the States, brilliant. You got like Champions League and everything, but you know they need to be in touch with what Giants are doing, because at the end of the day, the Giants guys are the ones that are constructing the competition for World's Strongest Man. So their calendar needs to emulate and get the boys ready for the comp that they're doing, and obviously, importantly, the cream of the crop is Giants. You know, is World's Strongest Man. You know, we can all do his other. You know, and I've done Champions League, I've done corporation stuff, I've done Arnold's, I've done all sorts. But the pinnacle for me as an athlete, and for me now, is World's Strongest Man. You know, and it's you know, and all these other guys, companies are good, but I see, it sounds corny, but I see Giants Live as the Heinz ketchup, and everyone else wants to be a ketchup, don't they? But they're not going to be Heinz. So they need to structure what's going around with Giants. I think if they get it, everyone, there's enough athletes and enough time in the year for them to all have a little bite of the apple. And I think if they can do it around the athletes, so that they're at their best, at their fittest, and at their strongest, at World's Strongest Man, and the qualifiers, why not have a world record log in December or deadlift in March, provided it's all good and they've got enough time and the athletes are all clear to go, yeah, I can't, but 4 weeks time I've got to do my qualifier for Worlds, and then Worlds is like, yeah, cool, that's fine. Provided that's good, that's sweet as a nut there, but everyone wants that little bite of the cherry, and everyone wants to be the Heinz ketchup, and there's only one Heinz ketchup, and that's Giants Live. They're the best. They put on the best. They've got the best athletes, and unfortunately, these other companies, they come on early like wuss, and they dangle some big carrots, and I mean some big money carrots in front of these athletes, and these athletes, of course, are going to go for the money, because that's what's going to sit them in good stead for when they finish strongman, for when they're, you know, completely retired in 10 years' time. They're going to have this nice big nest egg that they've saved and scrimped for them to look after themselves, and, you know, build a, you know, they've got their name then, and go on to do, you know, coaching or refereeing or something completely off kilter, like Marius did, but he got all his did all his bits of his housing and units and property and stuff. So you've got to have that in place. You can't not, you know, grill him for going where the money is, but you should really, these people should have a bit more respect for the people that have been there and done it for the last 30 odd years, and say, look, if a contract should be signed by the companies, like, you know, you're contracted by Giants Live, you can do our shows, plus if you're going to do something else, let us know. Like, don't take this, say, look, I really want to do the show, it's 50 grand if I do this, would you? And they'll be fine. But yeah, cool, there's got to be a bit of give and take, but there's got to be respect, and I think that's good. But you know, you can't always other people want to you know, a bite of your apple, because there's plenty of it will all go around.
Yeah, I think it's a very interesting view that you've got there, that everything kind of should still be building up towards the world's strongest man. And, you know, I think we've seen it in, I think, kind of this year and a little bit last year as well, that kind of it seemed to be that the focus for a lot of athletes wasn't, you know, they weren't as focused on World's Strongest Man because there was, you know, more prize money at the Arnolds, or there was more money to be made on this rogue world record breakers or whatever. And I think it's very difficult because when you have all of these different things that are drawing people's attention, whether it's, you know, money or the fame from world records or this social media or this or that, that it does detract away from the overall thing, which is kind of like you're saying there, like it all started with this and this is what it should still be around. Now I'm interested to also then move on to that. Do you think that World's Strongest Man needs to kind of adapt its format a little bit more to modern times? And I've spoken to a few different guests that have kind of said that, you know, it's still kind of the same format that it's been running since the 80s. They kind of, maybe they need to start looking at some of these other events and organizations and how they're running these comps and going, okay, well, maybe actually, you know, we want to draw this a little bit more, or maybe we shouldn't just be running it once a fucking year at Christmas time for a week, and we should be doing these live stream events or whatever. Like, what are your views there?
I think they're starting to move with the times with the live screening stuff with the qualifiers. I think World's Strongest Man should be still a once a year thing because it's the magic of World's Strongest Man. And today it's you only have the Oscars once a year, don't you?
Yeah.
So I think it should be. I also think that they should change with the time, so they should have different events. But one thing that they are kind of have got their hands or one hand tied on their back is all the yes men and lots of red tape that surrounds the politics of World's Strongest Man and the behind the scenes to make it and who owns ownership, etc., etc. So I won't get into it too much. It's a lot of politics and, you know, things I don't really want to say too much.
Companies and stuff, like different people have their inputs, and it gets a bit confusing, is what you're saying.
So that's what's stopping them, because a lot, you know, there's a few people there that we want this because it's old school, it's how we like, and there's a few people like, we need to like do it, and so you can imagine, you know, it's like, you know, going into a debate and you want your garage on the left hand. And so, but the architect says, well, it's better if you had the garage on the westerly side because it look. Do you know what I mean? So you've got 3 or 4 factors, and none really at this time in life, and this time or now, they can't really agree. And in future, they will agree because things are moving very quickly, and World's Strongest Man will be, you know, a force to be reckoned with in the next couple of years because they're going to change with the times. But for now, unfortunately, they're just treading with a few bits, and they're going to get it. They'll suss it. They will because they have to because they're the number one. And you know the athletes want it. The people that surrounding World's Strongest Man want it, and I know full well us as spectators now we want it as well. We want to see, you know, all these other events and these other bits and pieces. But at the end of the day, we still want to see who's crowned the strongest. That's it. That's all I care about. I don't care if they do it pulling planes, trains, cars, or the Statue of Liberty on roller skates. I want to see who wins the Strongest Man.
Yeah, exactly. I think, you know, it's very funny because of course when you're showing it once a year, we have all of these impatient people. So anyone that knows anything about strongman knows that pretty much whenever World's Strongest Man is running, if you hop on Instagram, you pretty much get to see every single event, every single seeding. You're up to date with everything the whole time anyway. So I think as that kind of magical thing for people at the end of the year, I think that's a really interesting thought process. And I think, I'd have to go back and kind of change what I thought originally. And actually, that seems nice because it's something that you're building up towards. But for all of those other people, you know, if you want to be there and you want to be up to date and you want the latest info and news, then you can kind of still seek that out if you want to. So I like that. That's definitely changed my opinion on that.
It's just tricky because I've seen both sides, you see. So I've seen it from obviously from being a spectator to watch it on the telly, then watching it, going and flying. I've flown to the States a couple of times when I was younger to actually watch it in real life, watch the athletes do it. And then 2 years later, I'm actually an athlete on World's Strongest Man. So I've seen it from the television, sidelines to an athlete. So I've seen this lovely dimension, this carryover to television, wow. Watching it in Anaheim in LA, wow. So then I'm actually I'm actually doing World's Strongest Man. I'm actually picking up back in 2010 when I first did it, the McGlashan stones were still there. These McGlashan stones were used when like Kaz and Jeff Capes and John Paul and Gary Taylor were still doing stones, and they're there, and you're like, this is madness. And you got the Anvil farmers that I used to watch on Britain's Strongest Man. That I saw Bill Pitter pick up, and Abe Rollison, and all the greats from the '80s. And then you're sharing a tent, and I've watched, I've met him a couple of times, but now I'm next with like Zadrunas and like my mate Terry's across the tent with Loz and Derek Poundstone's chatting to me about Oreo. It's just, and God bless his soul, like Mike Jenkins is taking the piss out of someone else because they've nicked his bag or they've nicked something else, and Zadrunas is just sat there, just taking it all in, just because it's just like it's just fucked up. It's just from like I say, from the television to watching it to actually being in there is mind numbing. Even now, like I do certain things or certain people ring me up and I'm like, this is just bizarre. I'm Ed's ringing me at Christmas and asking how things are, and I'm thinking this is weird. And then Magnus, at the comp the other day, we're having a discussion over coffee about what his plans are for the future Iceland Strongest Man. And I'm thinking, Matt, and I say to him something, so this is so weird because I was watching you 20 years ago, like on the telly, and then obviously having discussions and buying, like 2-3 years ago, I was up at a village up in Peterborough, and I'm there having chips with tapes. And it's like, this is just weird. But it's my life. It's just, all these people I've looked up and seen on the TV and sort of watched and seen what they're doing. They're now my friends, Kaz and Maggie and Jeff and stuff, and Eddie and Bish, and like they're friends. It's very bizarre. Man is very, very bizarre, but it's weird. And then I get asked like, when you first started out, did you ever think you were going to go, go World's Strongest Man? I said, no, I didn't. I honestly didn't think I was going to go World's Strongest Man. But you can never cap your gains, never cap future, never cap what you're doing. Keep striving, because when I first started in like 2002, and like I say, making our own farmers walk, so I didn't think 2010 I'm going to World's Strongest Man. I did Britain's in 2005, and that was a huge wake up. But it was also a really good wake up to like, shit, I really want to do this. I can do this, and I can do it well. And then traveling, probably, I don't know, wow, 100, maybe 120, maybe 130 competitions.
Jesus Christ.
So yeah, not bad.
That's
and about, I think I was trying to count the other day for a guy that spoke to me on Instagram, and I think I'm up to about 26 fractured and broken bones.
Jesus Christ,
that's not bad.
Man. You need to stop using your body to stop things in motion.
Yeah, I know. It's silly things, isn't it?
That's
what you
mental.
do.
Yeah.
I did English and with a fractured arm and stuff, and I qualify with 5 metatarsals in my foot, 5 fractured metatarsals in my foot.
It's just
what
a
we
different
do,
breed.
what you used to do.
Yeah, I was going to say, well, you say that, but it's like, I mean, even today, guys like Eddie will work through injuries. Obviously, Thor tore his plantar fascia at Worlds. Like, it's just all these guys, no matter what, like, you're all in that respect, like, that mindset's kind of cut from the same cloth. It's like, it doesn't matter what's happening. Like, I'm going to see this through to the end. Like, unless it's literally a point of that I cannot do it because, this is ripped off of the bone and now I can't actually lift it, I'm going to give it my best goddamn shot. And that's what I love about strongman. And I think that kind of probably speaks to my slightly twisted and psychotic mentality. But that's it.
Well, Mark Bauer, he tore his Achilles day one of the finals of Champions League about 4 years ago. And he had to finish day 2 to actually be crowned Champions League champion. So they bound his hamstring up, and he still did 150 kilo farmers walk to 40 meters he still loaded a couple of stones. He still did something else to win, and he had a complete rupture of his left. I think his left Achilles tendon.
Jesus Christ.
So it was Misha in heats in 2010 in World's Strongest Man, and he bandaged it up and made finals.
Yeah, well, Shibligov did it. Was it not at the Arnold's this year? Like completely busted up, like ankle, foot, and whatever, and he's still out there just doing everything and just giving it his all. Like I love that about strongman. Yeah. So I'm interested to wrap this up with you. I ask everyone the same question. I want you for a second to imagine that you're taking a step back in time. You're stepping into a time machine. You're going to go and visit your younger self. You're like 10, 11, 12 years of age. So, you know, you're on the farm and you're kind of going about doing whatever you're doing. You get to spend a few moments with your younger self, impart kind of a bit of wisdom, knowledge, a mantra to live by. Something to help your younger self get you from where you are then at that point to everything that you've had to go through in your life, all of the trials and tribulations, getting up to that world's strongest man point, all of your coaching, your successes. What advice, help do you give to your younger self?
Poor. Of course, it's a tricky one. I would say just push every day. Just keep being you. Just keep focus on the future, not on the past. Keep pushing and just believe in yourself. Just keep going.
Yeah, I love that.
It's one of the things. Keep going. If you believe in yourself, then you have no cap to your future, do you? You just give it because it's you in the day. Just keep going.
Perfect. Absolutely perfect. I couldn't think of a better way to round it off. Rob, thank you so much for coming on board, man. We're 100% going to do this again. There's like 100 other things that we could talk to. And who knows, potentially we might even take the camera, come down Strength Tech, film a session and do a live podcast. Who knows? We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, that'd be good to have a catch up as well, bud.
Yeah, man, 100%. It'll be very, very good. Thank you very much. And yeah, we'll catch you on the next one.